Jeff Patmore, thank you very much indeed for talking to the UKIRC, UK Innovation Research Centre podcast series today. Now I know that you are almost a bridge between the academic world and BT. Group who you work for, and in terms of your presentation, you talked about the two groups of people and the interaction between them.
Yeah, that's right. One of the things that we found is that beneath the research that we sponsor, there is a tremendous amount of additional value that's to be had. And to do that, we need to spend time with the academics. So we've got a very definite policy, which is to have our people embedded within these major partnerships that we have, which is both Cambridge and MIT. And I have a person who spends about 3 weeks out of 4 at MIT. I spend quite a lot of time over there. And I and some of my UK people spend a lot of time at Cambridge, interacting with the academics and the students. I mean, again, that's important. It's not just the senior academics, it's the undergraduates and postgraduate students as well.
And you came up with a lovely phrase about your own staff at BT, didn't you? You said they show me where the world is going. It's a beautiful soundbite, and it makes the technology live.
That's right.
But the people appear to be important to you, the two groups of people within BT and within the university.
Oh, absolutely. Part of what we do is to think about the future and what that will mean for us in terms of new services and new applications for our customers. And by looking at what's happening today and what's happened in the past and chatting to academics about their views of the future, we can start to formulate a roadmap, if you will, of what could happen and the way in which technology could go. And that allows us to think about what our strategy should be as a business.
But the groups of people you're talking to within the university, one might expect academics of a certain discipline, but philosophers, you're talking to philosophers too, who basically are questioning, whether there is such a thing as intellectual property rights or whatever.
That's right. I mean, that was a conversation yesterday with Alex Oliver. Interestingly, the philosophers have worked with us in building bridges between some of our clients, some of our client companies, and academics that we have relationships with. So this is the ability to build a bridge between, say, sales and marketing people in one of our client companies and some academics that are looking at technology that could deliver into that space. And we found, interestingly, through an interaction several years ago, that the philosophers are incredibly good at that.
The ethics of patents, or he was talking about.
That's right. But what I should stress is that the reason I initially interacted with the philosophy department was their understanding of trust in business. I attended a lecture about 4 years ago, and essentially it was on trust, and started with the Greeks and came forward to the current situations. But what came across was an incredibly deep understanding of how trust is created and how it's maintained, and that triggered our initial relationship with the philosophers. And then from there, through conversation, we found that they enjoyed working with us on building trusted relationships with our clients.
And you named another academic, Matthias Holwig, at Judge Business School, because actually when you talked about Web 2.0 and all the social communication tools, he challenged you to put up or shut up and measure the impact of them.
Absolutely. And this probably goes back almost a year, when we started to chat about our use of Web 2.0 tools within our business. Matthias said, well, you seem to be an advocate and you seem to think that it's making you more efficient and that you're able to do things in a better way and often faster. But have you actually measured it? And when we chatted to some of our colleagues in business and other large companies that had also embraced using these tools, we found that no one had actually carried out any proper measurement of whether efficiency was being improved. So we agreed around Christmas time that we would do something, and then about 2 months ago a research project started, and that will deliver in late summer. So Matthias has one of his MPhil students doing that for us.
And indeed, that was a word you used a lot. We have to deliver. We have to work ever harder. We have to prove what people say does work in reality. But doesn't that put a tremendous pressure on your team within the Strategic University Research BT group?
I suppose there is increasing pressure to deliver all the time, and especially in a year such as this year with the if you like, the constraints on finance and the company results. But part of what we do is to ensure that we deliver value into the business, and we work closely with our partners in academia to do that. What that means is that we have to constantly review what we're doing and the models of interaction. But that's a normal business process anyway. I mean, part of, if you like, the way in which we operate is to constantly review what we're doing and assess what works well and what doesn't work well, and that what works well we build on.
And you talked about the ability to manage large amounts of data and taking good ideas forward and promoting them, but how on earth do you know what the bad ideas are?
I mean, the interesting thing is that if you constantly monitor what's going on, then you can shape most activities to deliver what you want. Occasionally you might find that a piece of research gives you great insight into an area but no immediate business value. But one of the things that we're working on as well is to make sure that we have a good archiving system, so that if a piece of research is carried out and doesn't have immediate value, then chances are it have value in future years. So the ability to recall it later is really important. So we have quite a complex knowledge management system operating, which allows us to recall information about research, often 2 or 3 years later, and then it will often be applicable in the business.
And Jeff Patmore, you describe yourself as an engineer with over 30 years' experience. I know that Henry Moore was once asked by his daughter when he was 70 how he got to be Britain's most famous sculptor, and he said, well, I just kept going and the others dropped out, but I wasn't any better than them at the beginning. I mean, it's an interesting, brave new world we're entering in terms of IT, isn't it? Are you pleased to be here?
Absolutely. When I started in engineering, most of the technology was valve, and certainly logic gates were individual components. And Moore's law has been operating beautifully throughout that time and will continue for quite some time to come. So I've seen a fantastic change, and it's a fantastic time to be in engineering.
And any predictions about the brave new world, Web 2.0 giving way to Web 3.0, where we'll be in 10 years' time?
I'm very careful not to do predictions because chances are you'll be wrong. We try not to make predictions, but one of the things that we do is work closely with social scientists. And I mentioned that we've been working with a social anthropologist at Cambridge, and she's been looking at these Web 2 applications and how people are using them. And that what we've discovered is there is this constant interaction between technology and people. And if technology is useful, then people will adopt it. And when they adopt it, they'll change the way they work. And that in turn will allow them to adopt more technology and more new ways of working. And it's about understanding that constant interaction between technology and people. And then you can start to think about what the world might look like in 3 to 5 years' time. But I'd never go beyond the 5-year point.
Jeff Patmore, thank you very much indeed for talking to the UK IRC, UK Innovation Research Centre podcast series today.
All right, thank you.